Hi, guys. My name is Chris King. I'm 42, and I've been sober for 6 years. Dude, it was horrible. If you had a 1 to 10, it's 11, 12. Sometimes it's even hard now, being disconnected from it for so long, to put into words how horrible it really was. But yeah, it was level one, all the way up, man. 100% all the way up. I wouldn't say feared for my life. I would say I probably welcomed the idea of dying towards the end, especially. When I got sober in '04, it was, I felt like I would have been better off and the world would have been better off. And when I got sober in 14, it was the same way. Almost look back on it and like subconsciously, if I'm smoking crack, drinking, smoking methamphetamines, taking Xanax all in the same day, I'm probably trying to kill myself. So it wasn't really a fear of it. It was more of a, let's see what happens. If it happens, it happens. Great. So I got sober for the first time. I got sent to treatment for the first time when I was like 13, 14 years old. And I grew up in Alateen. So I was pretty familiar with the idea of what 12-step was. But I'll age myself. There was a commercial back in the day, and it had this ballerina, right? And this ballerina, she's dancing around, and she said, "I want to be a ballerina when I grow up." And then she falls to the ground, and there's a needle in her arm. And it says, "Nobody ever said they wanted to be a junkie when they grew up." I came to terms with that. I said, I want to be a junkie when I grow up because that's all I'm good for. That's all I'm ever going to be. The idea of sobriety existed, but it seemed so far-fetched at the time. You know, anytime I mentioned it, anytime that I thought the idea, you know what, I'm going to get sober today. It never lasted. You know, it was a fleeting thought. And it was always when I was in a miserable situation. You know, when you got a pocket full of dope, you're not trying to get sober. It's when you're out and you're hustling and you're grinding on the streets, and it's, you know, it's that feeling like I want to die because I'm so miserable. Maybe I'll get sober. But for me, that only lasts so long. So, I mean, did I think I was going to get sober? No. But then again, sometimes yes, if that makes sense, you know. I was very functional for a long time, right? 6-figure income, nice cars, nice house, you know. High class drug addict, snorting Percocets and cocaine and drinking Maker's Mark. And then that went away. And Percocet was too expensive. Cocaine wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. And well, a bottle of plastic whiskey did the same job as that top shelf whiskey. So I started smoking meth and heroin, like any good junkie does, right? When that happened, dude, it was like such a horrific downward spiral, and it happened so fast. It happened within a year of me starting that process, where my parents kicked me out of the house because, you know, I'm a 34-year-old guy living with his mommy still. Well, no, let's start over. I got divorced. I lost the house that my ex-wife and I had bought. I lost my apartment because for some reason when you smoke meth and heroin, you don't pay rent. Not sure why. Parents wouldn't let me in the house anymore. And I was sleeping on my sister's couch. She was the only one that was still there, right? And not that my parents, I don't blame them at all, right? It was they made that decision that we're not going to enable you anymore. And it just got real miserable, you know. But the moment, so first time I went to rehab because my parents sent me. The second time I went to rehab, it was for the courts. I didn't go to rehab the last time I got sober. I just checked into the new solution. But what happened is I wanted it, right? And it worked out that things had gotten real rough. I'm driving down the US 60 and I borrowed my sister's car. Because I moved out to Queen Creek thinking that if I live out there, I can't get high. Like, not that I'm not going to drive to Phoenix or try to find dope out there, but I had been awake for a couple days. I went out to Phoenix to cop some heroin, and I took a Xanax, and then I drove home. And about Ironwood on the US 60, I nodded out. And the car I come to, and we're doing some 360s in the middle of the US 60, and I gain control of the car, and it goes off the side of the road into the dirt, and I'm doing 360s over there, get control of the car again. And this was the moment, right? This is when it happened. It was kind of like a look in the rearview mirror at yourself. It's like, I could have died. And then the next thought was, fuck, I didn't. Right? And something right there just, I don't want to do this anymore. Something at that moment was the difference between I want to die and, man, let's try something different. I've seen it work before. I put together some time in sobriety before. Almost got arrested walking up the off-ramp. Had to use a fake name. My sister came and picked me up, and I said, sis, I said, Sarah, I want to get sober. And I want to go to the new solution. I want to try something different because I'd always checked in and out of the solution. And I'm like, I need to go somewhere where I can't have women, And she said she'd loan me the money to go. And I detoxed on her couch. And September 2nd, 2014, I checked into the new solution. And did what I was asked to do. Sat across from a guy named Devin. He said, what's your sober date? I said, I have no clue. He said, well, then it's today. And it's been history since. I got busy fast, plugged in fast. I need that human connection. I need someone to bounce these ideas off of. I need someone that I can communicate with that tell me, hey, Chris, no, that's really not a great idea. But not only that, just the fellowship, man. It's like the thing that I've missed the most during this whole pandemic is the fellowship, right? And I love that hour that I'm sitting in the Tuesday night men's stag. But what I love is the hour before and the hour after, right? That's really, my fiance knows for those 3 hours, I'm gone. Like, you're not going to see me for those 3 hours every single Tuesday. But the meeting's only an hour. No, it's 3 hours. Right? Because I need that, right? I need to be around men that can relate to what I'm going through. And again, men that can say, you know what, that's a really dumb idea, Chris. You probably shouldn't fucking do that. So I think it's huge. Hats off to anybody that got sober during this time. And it's just, I've seen guys with more time than me that just got unplugged from human connection, from AA, and picked up a drink, right? And if you got sober during this time, that's hats off to you, dude. That's crazy. That's like crazy. You wanted it, that's wild. Right? And I was talking about how in like this 30 months, 60 months, my life has gotten so great, and all these things. And keep in mind, I'm still on the city bus, right? I'm still working I think at this point I was still working at Hat Club, so I'm like making minimum wage, but I'm excited because I'm at the ASU Stadium watching football every Saturday, and he looked at me, and we were talking. He did this thing with my hand and a quarter and blah blah blah, and he's like, your life will go beyond whatever expectation that you have for it right now. Like, you think it's good right now, far surpassed, right? And I've done the big house, I've done the big bank accounts, and still been a miserable fuck, right? Like, still miserable. If I would have said I wanted my old life back, which I did, I would have shortchanged myself, right? I'm glad I didn't get my old life back. Like, the relationship, I have a relationship with my daughter, right? My 24-year-old daughter that 6 years ago I hadn't talked to in 10 years, right? The only time I saw her was in a courthouse at a child support hearing, right? I got to see her get married, You know, that's something that I would have never imagined my life would have it. I'm going to lunch with her. She got a tattoo of the date that we reunited on her. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff is stuff that I never imagined would happen. I got two beautiful little girls that have never seen me high or drunk, dude. Like that's they're wild, you know. That's a challenge. Being a parent is a challenge when they're that close in age, but it's been being there to drop them off at school, being there to pick them up from school, being there to take them to jiu-jitsu, to gymnastics, to, you know, the fact that I'm even in jiu-jitsu right now is because my little Jovi my 4-year-old was, and I wanted to go train with her. So I joined jiu-jitsu and I love it, right? My son is in it, Jackson, who, you know, he's the son of the mother of my girls, right? I have no blood relation to this kid, but that's my son. You know, those are the things that I would have never done before I got sober. I'm not going to take responsibility for my own kids, much less anyone else's, you know. Just building those relationships and those bonds with those kids, man, is amazing. You know, looking in the mirror and not thinking, damn, I didn't die, that's super tight too, you know. Being present all the time, as frustrating and overwhelming as it can be, just the fact that I'm able to do it is a miracle in itself, you know. And the fact that I can sit here and be okay. I'm okay. Everything's gonna be okay. When before, man, no way. I didn't get that until I was at least on the way to the dope house, right? You didn't even need to get there. I didn't need the dope yet at all, right? The anticipation shits are coming and I'm on the way. I'm good to go. But now, man, just the meditation, the prayer, the spiritual experiences that I've had have brought that sense of ease and comfort that it talks about in the book. That I used to look for everywhere else. And today, I mean, you can look at the monetary things. There's, you know, I have a vehicle. I have an insane shoe collection. I have a beautiful 3,000 square foot house that I can afford out in Norterra, right? I have all of that cool stuff, but that's not it, right? To me, that's just not it. What's it is getting up at 6 a.m. and sitting there with my cup of coffee, just me and God, until my kids wake up, and then feeding them, and then getting them dressed, and then getting them to school, and then going to work. I get to work where I got sober. You know what I mean? Like, I got this opportunity. I went away from sales, which is my background for 20 years. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go try behavioral health. And I started at the lowest rung, $10 an hour, not even a BHT, peer support, right? I'm just here to hang out and, you know, make sure you don't do dumb shit and to talk to you about recovery. And I just worked up and worked up and worked up. And next thing I know, I have an opportunity to give back to the place that gave me a new life. Granted, I take a paycheck from them too, but the thought of working at 5A never entered my mind until that day, till the day I got that call. You know, I was over here fighting for my job at the other place, like, and then that call came, and I was like, so many weird things with God and how everything works out that it's just like, it's mind blowing. It really is. Like, there's no logical explanation for me to be where I am today. If you just want to put it strictly to logic, I should be dead or in a prison cell. 3-time felon gets pulled over with a loaded pistol in his car. The cop gives him the pistol back and says, I'm not taking you to jail today because you have your dog and I don't want to wait for animal control. That's the type of shit that happens to me. And I'm like, man, there's got to be a higher calling, right? What is that? This is it. That's the way I believe, is that this is it.